Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
UFC Vegas 62, Alexa Grasso versus Viviane Araujo. Now, the UFC has taken a long way to differentiate themselves from the Bellators of the world, from these other promotions, and kind of get away from the Grand Prix and the tournaments. But I'll tell you what, I think that this women's flyweight matchup is the closest thing to a tournament in the UFC that we've seen in a long time, because we got a semifinal right here. We got two other competitors, Katlyn Chookagian and Menifield. Those two, whoever wins that and whoever wins this one, might be fighting Valentina Shevchenko next, folks. We will see. But to break it down with me, as always, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber himself, AJ, brother, what's happening, my man? Do you agree with me? Do you think the winner of those two brackets are going to face each other and then eventually see Valentina Shevchenko, the bullet, brother? What you think?
This is very Mortal Kombat-esque, where you gotta fight your way up the ladder to get to the bullet, the boss. Derek, I agree with you 100%, man. And this is a worthy matchup to take that semifinal spot you're talking about.
Yeah, I think so too. But here's the biggest part right here, man. Like, Valentina Shevchenko, clearly, she's not any just boss, right? She's like the boss, hidden, secret, unlocked boss that you're talking about. So it's gonna be tough to dethrone her. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about the semifinal, not the championship right now. Folks, welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. I want you to take a quick look at the scoreboard below. Now, don't forget, this is an annual contest. We have until the end of the MMA calendar or UFC calendar for 2022. I am up one pick, 117 to 68 for me, 116 to 69 for my man AJ. And at the end of the day, this weekend will make or break. We are going to either have a firm leader or we're going to have a new lead. But I just want to let everybody know at home, if you haven't been following along, AJ has been in the lead 95% of the year, right? So I'm just getting up in there, man. But anything can happen, and that's the point. Folks, we're going to get straight into it. Let's talk this main event, man. Let's get it.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
AJ, I think the simplest way to sum this matchup up is we have a technician versus a well-rounded power striker, right? I think it's fair to say that. But the big X factor, in my opinion at least, is going to be the grappling right here. Viviane Araujo, last time I checked, she's a black belt, right? Good on the ground, good takedowns, muscles, built, strong. But Alexa Grasso, on the other hand, I think she has filled into this 125-pound frame. This is the most success that she's had thus far, like definitive success at 125 pounds. Do you think that Viviane Araujo has any real shot at getting this job done if it goes past round 3, round 4, if we're heading into that round 5 territory? Alexa Grasso, I think she goes the distance. Araujo, I think she can get it done early, but this is the big test. So what do you think?
Man, I like the way you're looking at it, a long-term fight versus a short little powerhouse, absolute energy dump, because that's Viviane Araujo, and especially in those early rounds, Derek, I'm with you. That's where she's most dangerous. But I see it the same way you do, man. That tactician, Alexa Grasso, really pumping the gas 4 and 5 in those late rounds, man. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. There's literally Araujo's chances start to dwindle the further the fight goes on, but don't ever doubt her, because this is a crazy fight for the semifinal spot you're talking about, man. Very back and forth the entire time I was breaking this one down.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think it depends on the way the wind is blowing and how you're feeling that day is who you're going to decide who wins this fight. Because if we're looking at the money line, I just don't agree with it. Minus 210 for Alexa Grasso, plus 175 for Viviane Araujo. Now, we have seen Alexa Grasso get tested before in the grappling, and there's been times where she didn't fare too hot, but as of late, I mean, her takedown defense has been very underrated, but her offensive grappling has also been very underrated. I'm worried though here, AJ, and the reason why is because I think Viviane Araujo is a powerhouse. Like, that's the whole entire thing. Like, at the end of the day, man, it doesn't matter how technical, how skilled you are. If somebody can grab a hold of you, kind of like Rogerio Bontorin, for an example, very stacked for his weight class, right? And when he grabbed hold onto Brandon Royval, who we'll be talking about in just one second, he was able to really keep that man in his control for a couple different rounds, right? So, I mean, Araujo could stack up points that way, but if this stays on the feet, it's still going to be close. And that's kind of the whole point here. So what gives you the most trouble right here in terms of like looking at it and saying, you know what, man, I just don't really know if X, Y, or Z is going to impact how this fight is going to play out? Like, what gives you the most worry on either fighter side?
That's an easy one for the Araujo side. Derick, you mentioned already, man, powerhouse. This
Yeah.
girl is absolutely powerful. In the short realm, it's a very big pro, but in the long term, it's a con as well, man. Is she going to be able to dump that gas tank? I got like 4 notes for Araujo, man, and 3 out of the 4 all say powerful. Powerful, scrappy in the fight, very powerful wrestling, likes to be that pressure power fighter, man. And on the other side, Alexa Grasso, I always wondered it's the opposite side. Since she's the tactician, will she be too calm in there? Will she be worried about getting knocked out? Will she be wanting to go a 5-round distance fight, but in that make it boring and be less aggressive and therefore losing the actual fight to Viviane Araujo? There's a lot of X, Y, and Z factors that go into this, man, but I think a lot of this game is going to be that chess battle fought in those middle rounds and how those, the rounds 2 and the rounds 3, how those really predict. That's where we're going to see who wins this fight. Whoever wins those middle grounds, those battleground kind of rounds, that's who I think is going to win this fight. And that's what swings it for me, man. Do you see it the same or you see it as something different?
I think that's pretty fair. I mean, that's more or less of a fair analysis. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a very high stakes, high level main event that we have right here. And I can understand people siding with Alexa Grasso, man. She has shown to be the real deal. But at the same time, I just see Viviane Araujo, and I can see a lot of different ways for her winning this fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can see a lot of different ways. But when it comes down to just being technical, right, and just picking somebody apart for 5 rounds, you have to watch out for that bomb. One thing that we've seen from Viviane Araujo, especially recently, remember that Andrea Lee fight where she just got punted in her face, man, and just like stood up, took it, ate it on the chin, and then did a blast double and fucking poured over her shoulder? That's what I'm saying here. Grasso can hit you with something clean. She can hit you with the clean check hooks and all that good stuff. But Araujo can go Hulk mode. You know what I mean? And I know that's a weird thing to say, especially when we're talking about a fight, because anger doesn't ever win you fights, but tenacity does, heart does, determination, you know what I mean? All of that stuff does. But in terms of like X's and O's, we can kind of talk forever about. Literally, we have the technician versus somebody who's still very technical, but just a different level of technical, more powerful in their technicality, I guess, if that's what you want to say. But let's talk about emotion here, because I think that this is the last key to the subject before we jump into the wagers right here. Emotionally, man, for you, when you look at this fight, similarly to, I think, how a lot of the card that we're going to talk about next week, UFC 280, there's going to be a lot of fights that are going to be very close, that it's going to have to be a gut call. In your gut, right? Like, if you look at this, and in your gut, first time you saw it, who did you immediately side with?
Immediately off the bat, Derick, I sided with Grasso, and then the more and more I watch film, Araujo looks dangerous. But like I said, immediately Grasso. What about you?
I mean, for me, it's Grasso simply because I'm a big fan of her. I've watched her career and her progression, and I've been more invested in her career than I have been in Araujo's. But then when I started, so it was like my gut Grasso. When I started to think about it, I was like, I don't understand how Araujo is such a big underdog. I really don't get it. But tell me why in your gut. Why, with your gut, did you feel Grasso should be the favorite here?
Well, one, I always lean towards the name value that Alexa Grasso has kind of put forth. As far as the work she's done in her career, Grasso kind of holds a little bit more water here in the 125-pound division, where Viviane Araujo is more of a, not necessarily a growing name. She's kind of already grown into her right where she stands, but less of a pronounced name, at least for me, because I agree with you. Grasso is a very a fun fight as a tactician. She still has a little bit of a dog in her. And then I think that's really what it comes down to, for me at least, that name value that's been going for quite a while. Because, like I said, the more and more film I watched, Viviane Araujo is also quite very much that dog in her too, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, I mean, for a lot of those same reasons, I like Grasso, but the main reason is because of how technical she is on the feet and her ability to actually incorporate grappling, not just defensive, but offensive grappling. Because if she could take down Viviane, I mean, who's to say where that goes from there? Do I see that happening? Absolutely not. I think that probably wouldn't even be in her best interest, but I mean, it is what it is, man. So I like Grasso, you like Grasso, but if we're talking about a live dog, are we talking real live dog for Araujo, or do you think, yeah, she can win it, but I don't really see it there?
No, this is a live dog, Derick. This is very much so a live dog. So much so, I almost changed my pick last second, man. Last like 30 minutes, I've been watching more Araujo films, going back and forth. This is a very interesting one. I agree with you. This underdog, or the favorite line, money line, should not be this It's not even that drastic. I'm just saying it should be a little bit closer.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So once again, my philosophy for this fight, Alexa Grasso, she could take it over the distance. I think that would be her best path to victory. For Viviane Araujo, we all know round 1 is her best round, right? I'm not saying that in a derogatory way, but she is very effective in that first round. So Grasso has to survive. So can you get out of round 1 and can you drag it to round 5? And if you can get there, I think Grasso can get something done here. But AJ, let's talk real fast, man. Let's talk about the betting line right here, not just the money line, but the actual props, right? The thing that stands out clearly, man, look at the odds that they're giving Araujo. Plus 300 for a decision, and let's just say she's not just this knockout fighter who's knocking everybody out, submitting everybody. Lots of decisions in her UFC tenure, right? She's looking for her first knockout. I do believe so. But plus 300 for the knockout, plus 900 for the submission, which is also just like, what? And then plus 1,600 for the TKO. Prop-wise, Araujo is not getting much love. But look at Alexa Grasso, minus 125 for that decision prop. That, I don't know, this whole entire numbers, when I'm looking at this matchup, I'm like, I can see that for sure, but I can also see Araujo winning a decision here. You know what I mean? So like, I can feel the love on the decision, but what about that submission prop for Araujo? What do you feel about that plus 900?
That plus 900 for Araujo, that's actually when you were talking and breaking down the betting line for all of them. I mean, that plus 1,600 is just insane, because I could also see that one kind of happen like a random knockout. So if you're ballsy enough to put the plus 1,600 down, kudos to you. But that 900 submission for Araujo was looking a little bit more juicy, especially for the live dog status and how often we see rear naked choke finishes where it's more of an exhaustion tap than anything. And that's Araujo's style, man. Put the pressure down, put the foot on the gas pedal and get it going. That plus 900 is very juicy if you're an Araujo better. I
think so too, man. So now, I mean, ultimately it's time, brother. How are we going to see this happen, right? I like Grasso, you like Grasso. Now the question is, are we going decision here? Because let's be transparent, right? To the good people, this is part of the contest that we're doing. Not really, right? But it's part of the show, right? We're going to give you the prop bet that we like. Would I suggest you to bet on minus 125 for a no, of course not. If anything, you know what I'm saying? Just like take the minus 210 and just be safe and just like, have a day with it. But like, that's too specific. Minus 125 for a decision. I don't like it, but I'm going to take Alexa Grasso by decision. Now, obviously, that means it's the over, right? But AJ, over and under is 4.5 rounds, minus 225 for that over. So how you seeing it?
Minus 225 for the over is what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, Derek. I'm with that. I mean, and that same thing, minus 125 for the decision. It's not as much of a solid given as a couple of the other female decision fighters we've seen on this show. But I'm with you right there, man. Alexa Grasso by decision is what I'm taking as well.
All right, fair, man. So those are the betting lines for you. That's the odds that we got. Those are the things you need to go cash to the bank. But here's the big point right here, folks. Once again, number 5 versus number 6. Very similar in terms of not necessarily skill set, but just like where they've been in their careers. But honestly, the winner of this could face the winner of Chookagian versus Furo, and the winner of that could face Valentina. So this is high stakes, high implications, and there's a reason why this is going to be your second women's main event in a row, right? We had Dern versus Xiaonan, and we had a pretty massive upset in that one, brother. So I'm just saying. But there you go, folks. That's your main event for you. Now, let's hit on a very interesting co-main event. AJ, Cub Swanson versus Jonathan Martinez, the Dragon, brother. Big thing that we have to make note before we talk about anything here. Cub Swanson, the man has how many fights? Dude got 30-something fights in his career. This is just basically already a Hall of Famer still fighting. And he decides for whatever reason, you know what? I think I want to dive down to 135. And I want to go take on some of the young killers at 135. Even though, generally speaking, unless your name is Jose Aldo and you go down in weight towards the end of your career, good things don't normally happen there. And I'm going to be honest with you here, AJ. Like, I'm going to start this off by saying when I looked at this matchup, I was like, I don't understand why Jonathan Martinez is such a favorite. Cub Swanson has all the tools and all the skills and all the ability to disrupt his flow and really give him some issues. But then I saw he moved down to bantamweight, and I was like, I don't know about that. Like, now, because of history and track record, I don't like it. But you tell me, man. Jonathan Martinez is a very methodical, pace, technical stand-up fighter, but if you really get in his grill, man, and you really disrupt that flow, things start to get a little bit weird for him. So I think Cub can do it. Do you think his chin can handle the shots Jonathan Martinez is going to be bringing his way at 135?
Man, and dropping down in the weight is really what scares you the entire time with the glass chin, man. We've seen it proved over and over and over again. You start losing that much weight, it's just not the best for your chin stability. And Jonathan Martinez hits like an absolute truck too. But if there's ever a fighter that's going to be the one that's going to do it, I think it's the mindset and the tenacity of a Cub Swanson, somebody, a veteran who's been in there time and time again in some absolute wars. But to that point, man, is that a good thing on the mind and the chin, whether, not getting tested all the time? I don't know. But I think Cub Swanson, like I said, has the mental game to get this thing done. If there's ever a fighter who wants to be in there more, I doubt it's anybody else besides Cub Swanson, man. What do you think? Is he going to be on all will and guts being driven through this? Are we going to see a technical Cub Swanson at 135?
No, I think that we're not going to see. I think technical needs to be the opposite of what he needs to do to win this fight, right? And what I mean by that is make it ugly, make it dirty, mix up some grappling, make this a true MMA fight. Because Jonathan Martinez, purely on the feet, why, bro? You're a Factory X Muay Thai guy. Like, why are we messing with this guy? That's not the game plan you want to initiate. You want to just really bring war and not a sparring match. Because that's the thing about Jonathan Martinez, man. When's the last time that he lost? Davey Grant, when he got just slept with that big overhand left, right? And that was on that like super hot Davey Grant run that he was on. But I think the most important thing you need to take away from that is that Davey Grant is such an unconventional, just like weird, I'm going to throw random things in your face fighter from unorthodox angles that you're not able to accurately sit there and just dip and dive and move off the center line the right way, simply because you're not throwing something that a normal person throws. So I think if Cub Swanson can mix that up, he's got fantastic kicks, he can grapple when he really needs to. I just think that Jonathan Martinez is going to have to be on P's and Q's, and this is not by any stretch of the imagination just like a cakewalk for a matchup. That sound about fair? You got any pushback on there for me?
No, man, it sounds about fair. I mean, Jonathan Martinez is just another level of a new fighter. And once I saw this one on the screen, that's exactly what I thought. This is Cub Swanson, the old school, the old school dog versus the new school pup, really trying to come up. And this is a very opportune moment for both fighters to make a big name. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like if Cub Swanson gets this win on Jonathan Martinez, that win is going to age very, very well. If Jonathan Martinez gets this win on Cub Swanson, he already has a fat notch on his belt. This is a good fight for both fighters right here.
Yeah, bro. And look at this, man. Look how similar they are. Knockout percentage similar, submission percentage similar, decision percent similar. Everything is almost identical except average fight time a little longer for Martinez. But this is the other thing, man. You got to take into consideration. Cub Swanson has fought the best of the best, right? A little bit different on the Jonathan Martinez end, but it's something that you should definitely take note of. Now, if there was one way that Cub Swanson pulled the upset right here, how is it?
Man, if there's one way, I think it'd be that TKO. Some crazy TKO out of nowhere. I don't really see him winning a decision nor a submission. And I think the better is, the odds don't say just submission either. I'd say random TKO and a crazy flurry knockout, man. What about you?
I don't know. Like I said, if he mixes everything up, I can even see him winning a decision, man. I don't think Cub Swanson is the guy to sleep on in this matchup, man. I think it's going to be a bad day for anybody who really thinks that this is just a cakewalk for Jonathan Martinez, man. I love how skilled the man is, but this is a tough matchup. But let's talk about these odds, man. I can understand minus 210. Jonathan Martinez is basically like the same odds as the main event that we just had, right? But these props, though, right? So the best shot of Cub Swanson winning is a decision plus 300 for Martinez, plus 125 for the decision. Martinez has already noted in the pre-fight presser, he's like, I don't care how I win as long as I win, so I don't care if I'm getting decisions. But look at that plus 275 TKO, man. We know Cub Swanson, last time he got finished, it was with the Giga kick, right? Liver, just tore up. Can Jonathan Martinez replicate that with some of his kicks?
Man, that's what I was looking for on this one, to be honest with you. I think a big statement win on a big statement fighter like Cub Swanson is exactly what Jonathan Martinez should be looking for this one, man. And not to pull the cat out of the bag already, but like I said, I'm looking for that Jonathan Martinez TKO, and I'm looking like second round, man.
Okay, so early or late second round?
I'm going to say late. Give Cub Swanson a little respect, man. I'm going late second round TKO.
Okay. Didn't really matter either way because over and under is 2.5, right? But listen, man, I respect that. So if you're going 2.5, right, we're taking the under. Let me check what the odds are on that over and under. Minus 160 for the over, plus 130 for the under right there, man. So people thinking this might go the distance. I'm actually one of those people. I think that Jonathan Martinez is going to win this fight. Listen, I love the TKO bet that you're taking because what's the number one thing that I just started this off with? You're cutting down to 135. Will that chin be able to handle it? I think Cub can mix it up, though, to where Jonathan Martinez might not be able to land that real clean shot, but it's still going to be able to more or less not dictate the pace, but that pace that we're talking about. Martinez is a very paced fighter. I think he's going to be able to just kind of ride it out to a decision. Biggest win of his career, Cub Swanson, but then you got to take into consideration, this is literally the biggest fight of his career. So Cub Swanson upset? I wouldn't be surprised. I'm just going to say that. All right, brother. Boom. That's a co-main event right there, man. And this is happening in Vegas right here. You would think for Cub, for one of his last fights or something, they'd give him like a California card. I don't imagine him fighting too much longer than this, but I mean, we'll see. Actually, real fast, before we move on, I want to mention one last thing before we get out of here. Did you see Cub Swanson's pre-fight presser?
No.
Well, he had Dan Argueta. You remember Dan Argueta for The Ultimate Fighter? He had him speak for him the whole time. Cub was wearing shades. He refused to talk the whole entire time. He was just sitting there, and he had the other dude do his interview for him. And there's some speculation going on that because of the weight cut, it might not be. And listen, man, this is the internet, so who fucking knows, right? They're saying there might be a rough weight cut, and he might be, because sometimes you get ill from cutting, like literally get sick from cutting weight, saying he might not be able to speak the way that he should, and he doesn't want any bad, no bad jujus to get like leaked out there before the fight. I'm just saying, brother. Any thoughts, or are we moving on?
Ooh, man, I wish there was more than speculation on that, because you're right. And that's one of the things a lot of, you remember when, Blessed Express, man, Max Holloway went on that. Yeah. He was doing a big weight cut. I think it was a short notice fight for Habib. Yeah, and everybody was saying, because he was like stuttering a little bit and had a little slip or two. That's really kind of, I think, what Cubs could be trying to avoid right here, getting caught up in something like that.
Well, that's what got the fight called off, so probably not a bad move right there. So I'm just saying, folks, Take it into consideration. That's all I'm saying. All right, brother. This one. Now, AJ, let's talk about it. Why is this not a co-main event? Why is this not the main event? I mean, in all honesty, this has the highest implications because Askar Askarov comes off the first defeat of his career to a Kai Kara-France, right? A decision which a lot of us were surprised. We both picked Askarov to win, but it's all right because he gets a bounce-back fight against a equally tough competitor, man. A dude who actually beat the dude who beat Askarov. So if we're doing MMA math right here, Brandon Royval should be in the driver's seat. However, realistically, man, the way that we're talking about two different fight styles, Askarov is a smothering grappler with some good striking. But Brandon Royval, that's the raw dog, man. This dude is just an enigma. He just moves in ways you shouldn't. He does things that you shouldn't do. He's aggressive. He's flashy. And he believes in his cardio. And that's the question that I want to lead this off with, AJ. If Brandon Royval had 5 rounds, I think that he might be a favorite, or this might be even money. Given that it's 3 rounds, Askar Askarov can improve on a couple of things that he kind of, messed up on in the Kara-France fight and win this fight. But what are the odds we just see literally that Kai Kara-France performance a repeat? You know what I mean? Make Askar grapple you early rounds, gas him out come like middle of round 2, start escaping, throwing up elbows, throwing up crazy stuff, hitting them, pushing them back, using that cardio and just outwilling them and getting a decision. Like, is that in the cards?
It's well within the limit, Derick. That is very reachable, especially when you know how dexterous that Brandon Royval can be, especially even from the bottom or any position at all. This is going to be throwing up elbows, kicks, submissions left and right like a madman, and that's where I think Askar Askarov can have the most trouble. Get damaged up, get flustered a little bit, but to that point, also I think that's what Askarov is best at, man, flustering his opponent, making them fight his kind of fight, that grimy, that dirty wrestling kind of fight. This is a very, very interesting one, man. My biggest thing is I'm wondering who's more slighted, who's the UFC more pissed off at, because this could be your main event fight. If this was any other fight card, man, this would be the main event with Askar Askarov versus Brandon Royval. This is a big-time fight in the men's 125-pound division, man, and it's crazy that this is third fight from the main event.
Well, if I had to be real about it, man, I think that it's 125-pounders that not a lot of people know about. Askarov is such a monster in this division, but he has very little name value. And Brandon Royval, once again, monster in the division, but has very little name value aside from the people who know what's up. You feel me? Like, you just go to some random, you see that Brandon Royval fight? They're like, huh? Who are you talking about? You watch him fight, and that's a different story, right? You're like, oh, yeah, that guy. Okay, I remember that. But, okay, so let's talk about it, man, because you're right. I mean, literally, Askarov's strength is also his weakness in a kind of a weird way. But same thing for Royval. His strength of being aggressive, getting clinched up, and then doing a bunch of just guard work and scrambles and omoplata attempts and all that stuff. I mean, it just... Okay, this is the best way to put it, and this is what sucks about it, because our analysis doesn't matter. it could just come down to what do the judges want to see that day. Literally, what do they want to see that day? Do they want to see... It's the Bontarine fight, man. Look at it. Bontarine literally just held him down for 2 rounds, but Royval was more active and he won the split decision nod. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't know. It's really tough to look. Let's just do a hypothetical, though. Let's say Askarov, same type of situation, right? And they're not able to grapple, and this is a striking contest. I mean, Royval is long, bro. I think Royval can give him some problems on the feet just given his length, but he doesn't have that one thing that Kai Kara-France had to really keep Askarov at bay. And that one thing is power, right? Because Kai Kara-France, he cracks you with a good one. You're like, oh, let me watch my P's and Q's. Royval, he just wants to touch, punt, touch, and then move into something else. So do you think that's going to be, like, if there was one thing that can solidify an Askarov win, would you say it's the lack of power on Royval's side? Or do you think that's not even a factor that's playing into this?
No, I think it's a factor, especially because going into it with the striking level that Askarov presents, you're more worried about the ground game going. So Brandon Royval is a little able to loosen up a little bit more on the hands, which both plays into both of their sides of fighting. Royval with not a lack of power, if you will, because he's not powerful. This boy could put you to sleep anytime. But with not as much power as a Kai Kara-France has, Royval's relegated to the pitter-patter, the death by 1,000 touches, leading Askarov to be able to have more pressure, more not be concerned about going in on deep on all these shots and all that. So this is a very interesting one because I do think it does provide a big sway of whether or not you're going to see Royval having the momentum, having the pressure the entire time, or is Askarov going to be able to eat those shots and just keep walking through and have his own pressure? Yeah. Very, very interesting back and forth on this one.
It's going to be very interesting, man. Now let's jump into these odds. -240 for Askarov, +200 for Royval. I get it. The wrestler, you're going to give him the love. I get it. But this is what I don't get. +250 submission prop for Askarov, +500 submission prop for Royval. I can also understand, and I can see Askarov submitting Royval. It's not like it hasn't happened before, right? Like, I can see it. But given that Royval got like 9 submissions on his record and Askarov has 7, like, why is Royval just getting thrown out the window for a submission? Like, I really think a submission can happen, literally, legitimately, with those like weird little sprawls and scrambles that Royval gets himself into, man. You could see him throwing up something crazy. So at the end of the day, man, we just kind of got to talk about it. Which of these prop odds do you like the most?
For
either fighter,
Askarov, man, it is that 125 decision. I think that just makes the most sense around the bat for Askarov. But I think you're right, Derek. I think those odds for those submissions should be flipped, having Royval at the +250, because that makes so much more sense to me, especially, like you said, he's rolling around, he's spinning, he's reaching for things. Next thing you know, your foot's by his armpit. He has your knee literally at his will, or shoulder lock out of nowhere. This dude is crazy talented on the ground, and with more submissions. That's what I like, man. I think you actually might be getting a kind of a not a gimme, not a bonus, but like a big, like a softball layup basically in that 500 submission, because it should be something like a 250 where you're winning more money if you bet on Askarov right now. So it might be a gift that the bettors are giving you.
Kind of like a discount, right? Like you kind of buying on discount to a degree. I get what you're saying. I feel what you're saying. Yeah, no, that's fair, man. That's totally fair. So yeah, when it comes down to it, man, it's gonna be interesting the way that this thing plays out. In my heart of hearts, I feel like Royval gets it done, but he gets it done late in the fight. Late in the fight. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to say he's going to submit him, man, because we were literally just talking about Askar Askarov. Like, this is the guy, bro. This is the guy. But in any other matchup, I think I would still hold that same sentiment. I'm just very high on Royval based off of some of the skills that he has. So, listen, I got Royval, but I don't think you see it the same way. So how are we getting it done?
Yeah, man, I have Askarov, and I'm actually going with that 125 decision. I think he's just going to be mauling not even a mauling. Maybe we might see a little bit of wet blanket in there as well, but I think it's going to be Askarov Wrestle City all day long, going for the decision. What about you?
Well, listen, I think that all that wrestling, it's going to be that same issue that he had, man. That's why I'm saying halfway through round 2, round 3, that's when Royval, that's his time to shine. Now, whether he gets it done or not, we'll see. But I think that that's going to be the game plan right there. there. I like Royval. And I'm not going to lie to you, man. That submission prop is calling my name. And as much as I want to say it, I also want to say a decision. But I'm going to go risky. I'm going to go balls to the wall. I'm going to go the submission prop, for Royval. But I'm going to take the over. Over and under is 2.5 rounds. I'm literally talking about the last 2 minutes of the fight. We getting something done. Like, that's how I'm seeing this fight play out. Now, am I Nostradamus? Sometimes. Can be, right? You know what I mean? Both of us can be at times. But we're going to see, man. You can't predict the future. This is just such a fun fight, man. I wish I could spend more time talking about it, but you know what time it is. All right, brother. Let's get to this Jordan Wright versus Dusko Todorovic. And AJ, I have to say something before we jump straight into this one, man, because we don't see eye to eye on this matchup, right? But I think it's safe to say, we're recording this October 13th, 2022. And as of today, I am proclaiming the Dusko, right? You know what the Dusko is. I think those days are done, brother. I think those days are done. I think it's safe to rule that out and not judge Dusko based off of his beginning performances in the UFC. I think we've learned a couple of things, and I think he is impressed in a couple different facets of the game that at this point, you got to say, Dusko is that guy that we thought he was coming into the big show. It just took him a little minute to get there. Now, it's kind of almost the same story for Jordan Wright because we were so high on the Beverly Hills Ninja, bro. We were so high on this dude. And then you get flatlined a couple times. And then you're like, okay, this isn't good. Well, how do you see Jordan Wright taking complete command of this fight when you have a Dusko that is much more well-rounded, less powerful, but more technical of a fighter? How do you see Jordan Wright dictating command of this fight?
Man, with karate timing that Jordan Wright has, that bouncy, that in and out kind of flashy style that Jordan Wright can get going, I think it's going to give Dusko a lot of trouble in the motion. You know what I'm saying? Like the distance management that Dusko is going to have to somehow get around, find the timing of strike while you have Jordan Wright kind of blitzing in and out, jumping in and jumping out, tagging you up, and then dipping out to an angle that you're not going to be able to hit him at. I think that's what's going to do Jordan Wright the best right here. My biggest thing that worries me about both of these guys is when the punches and the kicks start flying, everybody from Uncle Chael all the way to your first karate instructor, hands up, chin down. That's always what everybody tells you. But both of these guys have a tendency to really start as the fight keeps going, just that chin start going up, hands start flying like a madman. Who's going to be the first one to succumb to their tendencies? That's really what's going to be the big one for me here, Derek. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a massive question, man. What it's going to come down to for me is who is going to be the most willing to stay within their game, right? So it's like kind of what you're saying. They're reverting to their natural tendencies, but to me, that's what's going to make it. And we've seen that listen, man, it's fair. Both of these fighters in their last 5, 2 and 3, right? Lots of knockouts. Both of them getting knocked out, getting slumped up. But then you also just go and look at, like, who have these guys fought? And you're like, God damn, like, who's mad? Like, whose Cheerios are these dudes pissing, bro? Jordan Wright. Let's look at Jordan Wright, right? The Beverly Hills Ninja. His last loss, he got submitted by the Power Bar, Marc-Andre Barriault. Before that, you get knocked out by Bruno Silva. Like, holy shit. And then the last loss, prior to that, you get knocked out by Numansa, Joaquin Buckley. Brother, that's not just a cakewalk competition. But then you look at Dusko, and it's arguably worse. You got Punahele Soriano you get knocked out by. Then you fight Gregory Rodriguez, but lose a decision. We saw what Gregory Rodriguez did to Chidi Njokuani, right? But then guess what? His last fight, let's not forget, Chidi Njokuani, right? And then you get elbowed into, oblivion and slumped out, right? So you can argue both of these dudes have had insanely tough strength of schedule. But the question is, AJ, who had the tougher strength of schedule?
That's a hard one, man. I was just thinking of that which one would I rather have of the two situations? And being slumped by Punahele Soriano probably is the one that does it for me, man. I'm good on that. Yeah. I would think Dusko has had a little bit harder. It's hard too because when he fought Chidi Njokuani, nobody knew who Chidi was. So nobody had any idea. I'm gonna stick with the slumping of Dusko, but man, what about you?
Yeah, no, it's Dusko, man. Just because you got Chidi Njokuani and Puna, I mean, brother, like that's not fair. Either way, man. All right, listen. At the end of the day, I think Dusko, if he needed to get a takedown on Jordan Wright, he can get it done. I think he can mix it up a little bit more. He's much more well-rounded. I think Jordan Wright has massive power. I believe in his power, and I believe if he could truly connect on Dusko, he could really give him some problems. But I also believe that Dusko is just, like I said, you get in trouble, I don't think that he's just going to sit and just lay over, right? He's going to try to mix it up. He's going to try to do the natural tendencies. Jordan Wright believes in his skill set, though, right? It's just a little bit tough when all you can do is really land the big bomb. And I'm not saying that's all he's capable of. He's a fantastic fighter, very well-rounded himself. But I don't think if it comes down to a grappling match that's his strength, right? So let's just talk about it, man. I got Dusko, you got Jordan Wright. We're probably both going to go by TKO because that makes the most sense in this matchup. Why are you picking who you were picking?
Oh man, this is why am I picking Jordan Wright? Goes down to both of the same things we've been talking about, man, of tendencies taking over in the fight. I think it's going to be harder for Dusko to stay away from getting into that kind of crazy battle when things start happening and hands just start flying. As if Jordan Wright, he's going to be a little bit more, not technical because that's a bad word for it, but not composed either, because I don't see either of these fighters being composed, but a little more well within himself to be able to get the fight going. Man, and I just like the style of Jordan Wright a little bit more. So that's what I'm leaning towards on this one. This is a very, very close fight, and I can see it both ways as well. And for a lot of this card, it goes to the same vein. This one's a very, very close fight.
Yeah.
For me, though, that blitzing style really pushes me over the edge to see Jordan Wright fight. What about you? What made you decide on Dusko?
I picked Dusko because I think the strength of schedule has prepared him to face an opponent like Jordan Wright, because you can argue Jordan Wright probably has the least. And there's no way for me to say this without this coming off the wrong way, right? And I think Jordan Wright is the least skilled fighter of all of the fighters that Dusko Todorovic has fought in his last 5, right? And even the fights that he's won, right, where he bought, actually, I take that back. Daquan Townsend is very good, but I think Jordan Wright's a little bit better than that, right? Maki Pitolo, I mean, listen, he could still be in the UFC. He just had a couple of rough losses, but I think everybody that he's fought has been more well-rounded than Jordan Wright. So if all you're dealing with is the striking, I think Dusko is going to be able to circumnavigate that, more experienced. And because, I mean, they're both similarly experienced in terms of like MMA. I just think high-level experience for Dusko. So I like Dusko. I like the knockout. I think that he's going to be able to catch Jordan Wright when Jordan is just throwing one of those big bombs. But to make it very clear, I'm a big fan of Jordan Wright too, man. So I wish they could both win, but they can't. So I picked Dusko because I'm competing with you and I want to win. So that's what it is, brother. I got that plus 150 TKO. I do like that plus 300 TKO of Jordan Wright. Now the question is, what round do they get it done?
Ooh, yeah, plus TKO for Jordan Wright, man. And I'm going early round 2.
Okay, so you're taking the under. Over and under is 1.5, brother. I'm taking the under as well. I'm going round 1. And minus 215 for the under, plus 175 for the over. So, you know, odds makers are thinking knockout for sure. All right, brother. Now, this is the opener, right? But this should probably be a short one, too. Misha Cirkunov versus Alonzo Menifield. Brother, Misha Cirkunov, since going up to 205, is 0-1, right? You know, but he looks a lot better. He looks a lot healthier, right? But you get taken down, you get submitted, and that's just kind of what happens sometimes. Alonzo Menifield, this is the dude who just came off of that very interesting contest, I guess you can call it, my man. So did you know, I guess they were saying that the dude that he fought, right? The dude he fought, what's his name? Askar Askarov. Right? Remember that guy? The fake record and all that stuff. They say he actually legitimately popped for anabolic steroids. And Alonzo's all like, man, well, he needed to work on his strength because that fool didn't hit hard, right? That's what he said, even though he cracked Menifield in that fight. Like, we can't forget that. But then again, Menifield, he just did what he needed to do. He could do a little bit of grappling. He can do some of the big bombs. But the power of Alonzo Menifield is something that I don't think anybody can... you can't just look past, man. You know, he's called atomic for a reason. Misha Cirkunov, though, man, when I saw this matchup and I looked at the money line, just to, like, because we'll cover this one super quick and then keep it pushing right here, I just thought, why are the odds this way? I think Misha Cirkunov has a very clear path to victory. You're just going to have to be able to walk through some real bombs in that first round, and I don't know if he'll be able to do it. So you tell me, AJ, if you agree with my path to victory for Misha Cirkunov. Press him forward, because Alonzo Menifield could be a little tentative sometimes, right? Press him forward, fake for the big shot, level change, takedown, smother him, submit him. Boom. What are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. Like, Alonzo, if he cracks you, and if you get into your guard against Alonzo Menifield, it's probably game over. He's smashing your face, right? But I think he's a way more talented of a grappling specimen than Alonzo Menifield is. So why are the odds this way, man? Why do people show Misha Cirkunov like no love?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Misha, and even in that, Misha Cirkunov in any of his last 5 fights has gotten zero love. Even on the one win he had against Jimmy Crute, the Peruvian necktie submission, I think everybody forgets about that. Nobody remembers Misha Cirkunov at all, and I think that goes a lot into this because I agree with you, Derek. One, duck under one of those big punches that Alonzo Menifield is throwing, get to the hips, take him down, submit him. It seems like a very possible route for Misha Cirkunov, especially looking really good in the 205-pound class. This dude is looking stout. Why is it against Alonzo Menifield? I think it's just that KO power that Menifield has, man. A lot of people, and even in the last fight, and yeah, sure, the opponent of Menifield in his last fight was a little suspect. But I think also that going, that guy was supposed to be a big wrestler. He absolutely put it to him. I think that does go a little bit into, the odds makers betting the way they're thinking on this one. But I don't know, man. I think Misha Cirkunov just gets overlooked. And if there's ever a live dog besides the Araujo, this is one as well, man. Misha Cirkunov is very much a live dog in this one. And you can see it's not that far. Plus 180 versus the minus 220. It's not that far off. But it is further than I'd expect.
Yeah, and I have to correct myself because I don't know why. First, I had some weird false memory right here where I was like, Misha Cirkunov just went up to 205. The dude fought at 205. He had an established career at 205. He dropped down to 185. That's when those losses started really piling up. And he had said it himself. He was like, bro, I'm just not. I can't be myself when I'm cutting that much weight. So going back up to 205, this is the opportunity for him because he did get submitted by Wellington Turman in his last fight. Man, it was a pretty nasty armbar, but I don't think Cirkunov is the most flexible guy either way. All right, man. X's and O's, bread and butter right here. Misha Cirkunov, how does he win if he does win?
Ground game, man. Misha Cirkunov gets to those hips, takes him down, submits him, puts a blanket on him, and doesn't let him frustrate Menifield. That's his best path to victory on that one. Menifield, power all day, control the fight, stuff those takedowns, and then let Misha Cirkunov start grasping at straws.
That's what I was going to ask you next, man, is how many stuff takedowns before Menifield just slumps him?
3. I think it's going to take 3. What about you?
No, I had 2, but 3 is fair. I can see that. I like that plus 125 TKO for Menifield, man. I love that one. And I don't like a TKO for Cirkunov. I don't really even like a submission necessarily for Cirkunov, but I do like the decision, the plus 500 for Cirkunov. I can see that happening. I think it's going to be tough to submit Alonzo Menifield just because if I remember correctly, Menifield, and let me just pull it up really quickly, he has been submitted, let's see, 0 times. Yeah, he's never been submitted. So that's kind of the key right there. All right, brother. I like Menifield. I like early. Let me get this done early. TKO, first round. You know what I'm saying? So give me that TKO. I see a lot of finishes to kick us off, man. But how do you see it?
Early, I was thinking TKO as well. I don't know about. I can see early, but I'm going to go early round 2. I think Cirkunov's going to get out of the first round and go early round 2.
Well, round 1 and round 2 is still the under because 1.5 rounds, brother. 1.5 rounds. Let's go, man. So that is your main card, folks. So this is basically where we at right here, man. Here's the TLDR. Take the picks. Run to the sports book with them. So we're going to give you a quick little second. And once again, we'll just do a little recap, right? We both like Alexa Grasso. Both like the Dragon, Jonathan Martinez. Both like Alonzo Atomic Menifield, right? The sole contention comes in Brandon Royval versus Askar Askarov. I like Royval. You like Askarov. And then Dusko Todorovic versus Jordan Wright. I'm taking Dusko, and you are taking the Beverly Hills Ninja Jordan Wright. AJ, if there's any pick you feel the least confident about in your picks, which one is it?
Ooh, that Alexa Grasso, man. That main event is very, very close, Derek. What about you?
You know what, man? That would be the one that I was going to say, but honestly, the other one, it's probably the Royval Askarov, bro. Probably. You know what I mean? A close second, though, and you probably wouldn't expect me to say this, Jonathan Martinez, Cub Swanson, man. Jonathan Martinez, Cub Swanson. A part of me just deep down in the laurels of my soul, I'm just like, I can see Cub Swanson just pulling it off, dude. And nobody's seeing it coming. But I saw it coming if it does happen. I'm just letting y'all know that. But all right, man, let's jump into the rest of the program. And we're going to give you guys a couple of sleepers, talk about some prelims, and get up out of here. So you dig.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, brother. So we got a couple sleepers here, right? Because we just broke down that whole entire main card. But let's not forget, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fights before we even get there. And we got some bangers right there, man. So if you don't mind, AJ, I'd actually love to start off because mine is going to be literally like a 30-second breakdown right here. Here we go. Let's get it. Folks, you like knockouts. I'm sure you do. So I picked this matchup specifically because I don't see how there's not a knockout in this matchup, right? I'm talking about a welterweight battle. It's even funny that I'm mentioning it. A welterweight matchup between Mike Jackson, man, versus Pete Rodriguez. And I laugh, folks. And if you know what I'm talking about, you probably laugh too. Mike Jackson is an interesting character. You know what I'm saying? He had a very interesting tenure. He fought CM Punk, right? That's probably what he's most known for. And then, like, notably had a very poor performance against a dude who'd never fought MMA. I mean, come on, man. It was goofy. But Pete Rodriguez, this is a dude who's 4-1 in his career, man. He has not gotten off to the start that he wants to. But if there's one thing we know about him, he walks forward and he swings and bangs. Mike Jackson, he's going to be back. He got some pretty slick boxing, counter striker. Someone's going to fall here. I don't know which one it's going to be. I would say it's probably going to be Mike Jackson. I like Pete Rodriguez knockout right here, but if you want to see blood, violence, gore, this is probably what you're going to see. Minus 650 for Rodriguez, plus 475 for Jackson. I do not see a takedown coming in here. I see some swinging and banging. That's my sleeper. First fight of the night. Tune in. You already dig what time it is now. AJ, brother, what you got?
Ooh, Derek, I won't lie, man. When I saw that Mike Jackson pick, I was a little interested to see, but you're right, it is going to be a banger, man. But I got a banger also lined up for you, and this one's in the female 115-pound division, man. Pierre Rodriguez versus Sam Hughes. All I got to say, man, 5-5 win streak for Rodriguez coming out of here. Sam Page coming out of Fortis MMA. This one's going to be knuckles on knuckles, man. This is going to be a fight where both fighters are very gritty, looking to grind, looking to get a name recognition in here, man. This is one of those fights that you're going to, if you're sitting there at the sports bar with your homies, everybody's going to be beers down, heads up, looking at the TV, because this is going to be a very, very fun fight to watch, man. Very aggressive, very fast. It's going to be a good time, man.
It sounds like those are some fun sleepers to watch out for. So we're going to do a quick little prelim pour over right here next and just examine what we're talking about. But those are the two matchups. You want to see something nasty? That's what you're going to see, but nasty in a good way. You already know, man. All right, brother. Now, prelim pour over right here, my man. And this is something that, listen, at the end of the day, we got some fun fights. So I want you to tell me what fight resonates the most with you right here, brother.
Who resonates most, man? At least the one I'm kind of looking forward to the most is that Joe Anderson Brito versus Alexander fight, man. That one's going to be a very, very fun and interesting fight. Lucas Alexander is the lesser known of the fighters, but if you're ever a fan of Brito, man, you know this dude's here to get down, and Brito's a fun fighter, as well as that Maximov versus Malkoun. I think that one holds a lot of implications, but I'll let you answer, Derek. Which one do you think?
I have a lot of stock in this fight, man. Rafael Assunção versus Victor Henry. I have a lot of stock going into this fight. And the reason why is because I honestly think, does it come to a surprise, man? We know Assunção is kind of on his way out, right? Like, we kind of understand that at this point. So the way that I'm looking at it is sitting here and saying, like, okay, well, if he's on his way out, then we got to take into consideration Victor Henry just beat Raoni Barcelos, right? And if you can beat Raoni Barcelos, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to beat Rafael Assunção. You know what I mean? And I don't mean it in a derogatory way. Where I truly mean it is kind of in the sense where it's just like, listen, man, Henry is ready for Assunção to try to wrestle fuck the man. You know what I mean? He's ready for the grappling. He's ready for all of that stuff. So if he can come ready for that the same way he was for Barcelos and really give him some work on the feet, I think he can outpace him to a win. And he is, I didn't even see that. Minus 370 favorite right there against Assunção. In my head, 100%, I thought Assunção was the favorite and Henry was the underdog. And I'm like, this is going to be another upset back to back. But now that he's the favorite, maybe it changes things. But yeah, that's probably the ones that I'm looking forward the most to, man. I'm bummed out that Joe Anderson Brito gets the Lucas Alexander. He gets that, you know what I mean, replacement fighter, because that's not who was originally supposed to fight. But don't forget about this one right here, AJ. Tatsuro Taira. Now, why is it not expanding? There we go. Tatsuro Taira versus CJ Vergara, right? Don't forget about that one. This guy right here is very, very good. Tatsuro Taira, I don't have too much to say on him, but I just have to say, watch out for him. Now, AJ, I think it's fair to say that this is even though we love fights and we love breaking them down, and we consider probably every fight card to be the biggest and baddest fight card, this is going to be a very much overlooked fight card because UFC 280 is around the corner and nobody really gives a shit about this card. Everyone cares about Makhachev versus Do Bronx, man, Charlie Olives. So my question to you, man, is what type of value can the fight fans of the world get from this card when you have such a massive card on the horizon?
Well, folks, if that's the kind of thinking you got going in, that you're going to skip a card just because you got a pay-per-view coming up, you have not been paying attention to how the UFC likes to do things, man. They sneak in one of these fight cards that does sure, and it's a female main event, not a lot of name value on this fight, but these are some dogs, and these are going to be like the future main event fighters coming in the near, year, maybe 2 years at the most. These are going to be the guys leading the pack very, very soon, and this is very much a fight to pay attention to, man. If this is a stock 1 out of 10, I'm saying this is like a 7.5 and 8 almost. There's a lot of really, really good fighters here, and it's going to make for a banging match or banging card the entire time, man. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I think the value that people could take out of this is that, yeah, of course, these are going to be the future stars. That's why we cover them, man. That's why we're so dedicated to this stuff. But more than anything, I think it's important to know that you don't have to have the biggest name in the world to have one of the best performances you could possibly have on the UFC stage. In 2022, man, it's the most unknown fighters who are probably putting up the biggest performances because what comes with a highly anticipated fight? High expectations. And if you don't deliver on those expectations, we're going to see, oh, I just wasted my $80 and da. So imagine you get this shit for free, bro. Pay for your ESPN Plus or whatever, and you get this shit. Enjoy it, man. This is going to be a massive fight card. This is going to be awesome. Folks, we hope you enjoy some of the subtle changes that we've brought to the program to you today. We're constantly in flow, in ebb, right? So please leave a comment and leave some feedback if you'd like to see something different. But with that being said, my man AJ, do you got any last words for the people? Because we about to get about this thing, man, and prepare ourselves for a post show and then UFC 280, brother. Let's go. What you got?
Ooh, man, biggest thing, like Derek said, we're making some changes, some subtle changes to the program and to the lineup. You see something you like, man, say something. We don't play by the neighborhood rules. If you see something, say something, snitching over there. But if you do see something on the show you like, let us know in the comments, hit us up in the DMs, let us know so that way we can keep working. What's a good show for y'all? What's the best show to bring you all the shows you want to see so we can make you some money on the fights you want to watch? Either way, man, Derek said it best, man. Your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. We're going to be here back again, getting it, and it's good to be in the spot again, man. Finally getting everything set up and back rolling again. It feels good. It's going to be a fun Saturday night.
That's right, and I just want everybody to remember, because if you made it around to this point of the program, we love you. We appreciate you, right? And if you rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we're going to shout you out here on the show. You just got to hit us up and let us know. Don't forget what we're fighting for, folks, because, yeah, we cover fights, but we're fighting for something here on this program. So you see this right behind me, folks. Unfortunately, this one isn't up for grabs. This one's already mine. I won it last year. It is what it is. There's another shiny new belt coming in very, very soon that I'm going to be able to display to show that what we're fighting for this year. So either I'm going to have 2 belts here on my wall, which is what I want, or my man AJ, you got a lot of room for a shiny belt right behind you, brother. So I'm staying vigilant. But I just want you guys to remember, even though you see it in the corner right here, we do a little bit of an update, right? And we have another logo that we're working with right here, you dig? So that's going to be showcasing on the 2022 belt. Suffice it to say, man, we got big things in the work. That is it for us. You know where to catch us. BloodyWaterPodcast.com, the home, the hub. Hit us up. Free Thinkers Club on YouTube or Bloody Water Podcast. I'm done talking. That's it. Let's get up out of here, AJ. Until next time, folks. Peace.